Welcome. You're listening to Coffee Break with Purdue Engineering, a podcast production from the Office of Future Engineers at Purdue University. In this podcast series, we discuss the many programs, majors, and opportunities found in Purdue Engineering through conversational interviews with staff, faculty, alumni, and current students. Alrighty. Well, good morning, Tess. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. It's midterm, so we're getting through.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess let's get to know you a little bit more. Where are you from? What are some of your favorite things about growing up there? Kind of the hobbies that you have?
Yeah, so I'm from outside Chicago in the suburbs.
Okay.
If anyone's listening is from the area and knows where the Brookfield Zoo is, I'm right over there. But the town specifically where I'm from, Riverside, it's got a bunch of trees, a lot of places to go hiking, which I really enjoy. And I love Chicago. Great city, lakes, museums, all that.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool being close enough that we could, take the train in as a kid and go see things. Hobbies, I delve into a lot of different creative things. I like being able to make stuff, so I know how to crochet. I like to draw, even though I'm not super good at it. Reading, writing, and then I'm in choir here at Purdue, so I like to sing a lot and any kind
awesome.
of music. Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah. I bet you can draw better than I can.
And definitely better than me. Yeah. What was your journey like getting here to Purdue?
Yeah, so I was applying to college in the middle of COVID. So it sucked kind of having to apply to places and not really get to see them, because I feel like seeing a campus is a huge part of...
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and Purdue was one of the campuses that I actually did get to visit. And I remember, I'm from outside Chicago, but I hadn't really been to this area of Indiana before.
Yep.
And I'd been looking for good engineering schools, so Purdue was on my list. But I was like, living in the middle of the Indiana, I don't know if I want to do that after living closer to the city. Mm-hmm. And I visited campus, and I really liked it. And I was like, it feels like what a college is supposed to feel like.
It's definitely a college town.
You're here, and you're like, yeah, I'm in college. And I think I really liked that. And then also, good engineering. I liked the FYE program, being able to kind of give myself one more year before making another big life decision.
Yeah.
So that all kind of, I visited campus for the first time, and I committed to Purdue on the way home. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it really was the visit that did it for you.
Yeah. It had been I was down to my top 3 or 4 at that point, and then I saw campus, and I was like, you know what, their program's good. And I think I'll be happy here for 4 years at a good engineering program.
Yeah, it was my visit that sold me on Purdue too. Just the people I interacted with and everything that I could see, even though it was a cold, snowy February day in the dead of winter. But I really enjoyed the campus, really enjoyed the feel of it, and I didn't do it on the drive home, but that's ultimately why I ended up
just more committed.
Accepting Purdue.
Yeah.
But yeah. Welcome to this week's episode. We're going to be discussing Purdue's materials engineering, or MSE major. I'm one of your hosts, Calvin Given, a current graduate student in electrical and computer engineering from Lakewood, Colorado.
And my name is Bryan and Calvin. I'm a current sophomore in electrical engineering from Miami, Florida. And some things I'm involved in on campus are the National Society of Black Engineers, the Minority in Engineering program, and I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And this week we are joined by Tess Obuchowski.
And so what do you do on campus for involvement? We know you're in materials engineering, right?
Yeah. So I'm a senior in MSc. Stuff I'm involved with on campus are the Purdue Student Engineering Foundation, which we're responsible for a lot of the tours. If you come visit campus, we're doing those. I'm also in Tau Beta Pi, the Engineering Honor Society, and then Purdue Musical Organizations, which is the choir I sing in. I'm in the Honors College as well. I've done a lot of research here on campus, and then study abroad as well. I've got some experience with that. So.
All sorts of involvement, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I guess before we get into delving into what is materials engineering and all that, what's it like being in the music organizations at Purdue? How have you liked that? How'd you get involved in that?
Yeah. So I've been doing choir since 4th or 5th grade, since I was a kid, and it was something that I knew I wanted to pursue coming to college, especially going into such a STEM major. I think I'm also a pretty creative person as well, and I like to balance that more hard kind of math, science stuff with something fun and something musical.
Yeah.
So I'd been looking for I found Purdue Musical Organizations online. I auditioned over the summer and I got in, and I really loved my time there. It's where I've made like some of my closest friends, all my current roommates, and I'm in the university choir and the chamber choir there. But the environment has always been super welcoming, and yeah, I love getting to sing. So
yeah,
getting to sing with friends is even better.
Yes.
Yeah, so I guess now in terms of MSc, how would you briefly describe it and kind of like the concentrations? And I know me personally, sometimes I get a little confused with how it differs from mechanical engineering. So how would you say that it's different and stuff?
Yeah, I think specifically compared to mechanical engineering, materials engineering is both specialization and a broader distribution. So it kind of fills all the gaps in between all the majors. I kind of describe it as being in between chemical engineering and mechanical engineering. Where you're taking projects that any engineering major might accomplish and looking through them at the lens of, okay, what are we building this out of, and how can we improve those materials to improve the overall project?
Yeah.
And there are no formal concentrations in MSc, though you end up kind of specializing in a class of material. The general three are like metals, ceramics, and polymers. But you'll find people who are specializing more in biomaterials, so things for implants, stuff for electronics, like for semiconductors. I really think my favorite thing about MSc is kind of how versatile yet how in-depth it is. So you're going deep into concepts of physics and chemistry, but also it's something that's widely applicable across a lot of different industries, really going from like the very beginning of a project and the processing of how you're making things to the end and the economics and how you're choosing to make the most of what you have. So it's incredibly versatile with what you can do with it, which is something I really love about it.
Yeah, that's super cool. Is there specific research areas that you can get involved in, or is it kind of just you can get involved in basically any research? Do you have a couple companies that usually hire or materials engineers get jobs at?
Yeah, so the program here at Purdue is probably pretty heavily metals focused. So the majority of companies that will be brought to us by like the department are steel metallurgy factories, so making steel for anything, aluminum. Yep. There's a lot of more defense-focused companies. I know Rolls-Royce is big on recruitment in MSc, but it's at the end of the day, it's what you seek out. So there are professors you can do research with who are doing anything from like superalloys for various aerospace applications to, I mentioned, like semiconductor research with thin films. One of my professors she specializes in cement, but she's adding these specific polymers to the cement, and they're looking into it for like 3D printing buildings in space, which is crazy to me. And I have another professor who does like work with explosive materials used in fuel. So really like there's a huge range of stuff going
all across the board, and sounds like it overlaps with so many other engineering majors for sure.
And yeah, so would you say, what made you decide to pursue MSc, and like with all the different 18 other majors, what kind of made you dive into this one? Yeah,
it sounded like maybe freshman year you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do coming in. So how'd you land on materials?
Yeah, I think I hope this is a relatable experience, but I think when I was coming in to doing an engineering degree, I was very confused on what the actual differences between the engineering majors were.
Yep.
Like, you hear the definitions and you're like, okay, yeah, but like,
what does that mean?
What do they do?
What do you get a job in? What are you doing in there? And for a while I'd been like, okay, I'm probably going to do chemical engineering because I like chemistry. But I'd been kind of lingering on materials because I wasn't really sure what the difference between them was. So my second semester, my freshman year, I was able to take MSc 230, which is like the intro to materials class. Pretty general, going over basis of materials concepts, and I loved it. I found it super interesting. I remember one of the first lectures, they showed some graph that I've since seen a bunch of times. It's used pretty heavily, but it's a big map of like every material.
All the colored circles.
Yeah, all the colored circles. And with all, like, comparing various properties of all the materials. And it was something that visually, numerically, you could understand the things that I had long kind of associated with common sense. So, like, why we make the foundations of buildings out of steel and cement, why we'll use like aluminum in bike frames. All of those decisions that you kind of are used to overlooking have a scientific reason.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there was a lot I could learn from diving into that field, just about everything, because it's so wide-reaching in what it accomplishes, and I wanted to learn that stuff.
That's super cool. Out of curiosity, was that semester you took it, was that fall of 22? Or not fall of, spring of 22?
Yeah, it would have been spring of 22.
Oh, that's wild. It was online?
Yeah.
I was in the same class.
Did you at Strachan?
I don't remember what the professor's name was.
Yeah. That's really funny. Yeah, I was in that online that spring of 2020.
I enjoyed it. I was also considering materials engineering for a little bit, so I took it and I was like, maybe I'll enjoy it, see what it's like taking the introductory course, and I decided, yeah, it's cool, but I don't think I want to do it for 4 years. But I'm really glad it sold you on materials engineering.
Yeah, I love my major.
Yes. And that's one of the great things I think that you can get out of that first year engineering program is the fact that you can really make a good informed decision on what major you want to do, and one that you're going to be happy in and confident with for the remaining 3 years of that 4-year degree.
Yeah, if nothing else, like, it definitely increases your confidence in what you're doing. You're like, no, yeah, I'm sure about this. I've had time to think about it. I've had time to see what those majors do and talk to people.
Were you able to attend any of like the EYM sessions, like the engineering your major sessions for MSc? Because I know that helped me a little bit when looking.
I didn't actually go to any of those, I don't think. I was in the honors.
It was online too.
I was in the honors section, so they didn't really tell us.
Yeah, it wasn't required for the honors one.
Yeah, I know.
Which was weird.
Yeah,
I got most of my information. My BGR team leader was an MSc.
Okay.
That second semester, I was like, "Hey, do you want to like tell me about what you do?"
Yeah.
And I just had a one-on-one conversation with him, and he's very passionate about MSc. So, seeing someone else be excited about it certainly helps me be like, "Yeah, this is awesome." So,
that's super cool. I guess what are some of you talked about MSc 230, but are there any other favorite courses that you've had or favorite professors that you've interacted with?
Yeah, certainly the lab courses. They're pretty hands-on, especially the 2 later ones, the 2-300 level lab courses, where you're doing like either you're working with materials characterization equipment. So one of the labs is like you're given this random material and you have to figure out what it is. And the other is a material processing course. So we made like a coin, we cast the metal and stamped it down.
Oh, wow.
And then our final project for that lab course, we kind of got to choose, but we ended up trying to make a horseshoe out of aluminum 7050, which is an aerospace grade aluminum alloy. And fun fact, you cannot hit aluminum 7050 with a hammer to try to turn it into a horseshoe. It does not work.
Okay. All right, good to know.
But yeah, those labs are fun, and they have a decent bit of free reign in what you can kind of do for those projects. I think one of my favorite things about the MSc courses themselves, they're all MSc specific. So even your kind of thermo, your statics classes, you're taking the MSc version of that. So they're kind of covering what you need to know for MSc, because it covers so many things on such a wide basis. It's better to just take the MSc Orgos, so you're covering polymer organic chemistry rather than stuff you would need to make drugs.
Yep.
So I really appreciated that they kind of focused the coursework to what was actually relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we talked about lab spaces. Were there any professors that you really, really enjoyed or really liked? And then how do you feel the resources allocated to you? Or did you ever feel like you had not enough or just enough or more than enough?
Yeah, okay. Favorite professors, I have to mention Professor Titus, because I've done research with him for the past couple of years. He taught my statics class sophomore year. Very cool. It's been very awesome doing research with him. Very accessible too. When I wanted to do the research, I was just awesome. He said something in class hey, I need research people, and I emailed him and I was like, hey, and then I got into that that kind of research job my sophomore, and then again this senior year. And then Professor Erk's probably my favorite professor. She taught, I've been in 2 of her classes. She sometimes teaches 230, but she's really awesome just in her journey of life. She really loves materials, and she teaches in a way that is really good for understanding the content itself, I think. So shout out to her. She's awesome.
That's awesome. What exactly are you doing for research?
Yeah. Oh, I've been all over the place. Titus does more like superalloy metal stuff. So my most recent project, I was working to characterize this alloy that's used in metal 3D printing. So it's like a powder alloy. And I was doing some composition, oxygen, nitrogen composition analysis on the powder, and then surface imaging of like the finished part. Because there were it was degrading over time, especially during the heating process of forming it. So trying to figure out the mechanisms behind that. That was my most recent project, but
interesting. Yeah, I mean, generally you think 3D printing and you think the plastic filament, but I mean, you've mentioned concrete, now metal, whole bunch of different things you can do with that, right?
Oh yeah. It all comes down to the materials.
Indeed, it does. And yeah, you said it was just as easy as emailing your professor. That's what I found as well when I was getting involved in the research opportunities I had. I just cold emailed a professor and then talked to one that I had class with who had mentioned his research in class like you did. And it can be as easy as that to get research. It doesn't have to be a big formal application thing like if you're going through the SURF program, but SURF can be a great way to do it too.
Yeah, and I have some experience with both those, so I got into the experience with Titus just by like emailing him. But the bigger research project I've done was through the Honors College, and that was like a big whole application process thing. And there's certainly benefits to both. The difference between mine was like I was helping in the lab as part of a bigger project, but the one that I was fancy and applying to was kind of my own project.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in research, seek out as diverse of opportunities as you can find.
And there's a ton of opportunities to be sought out. I guess, have you had any internships like over the summer or done co-ops in materials engineering? Who did you intern for? How'd you get them? What were they like?
I've had one like actual industry internship. It was kind of a weird one. It was with the Green Roof team. They're a startup out of Illinois that are working to design like educational kits for clean energy. So like for high school, like college age students, you're able to build a little wind turbine and kind of learn about wind energy that way. And I was doing carbon fiber, like epoxy lamination with these parts, just kind of smoothing out the process, doing process testing, make sure it was efficient and easily replicable by someone who didn't have experience with it. But that's been my only like formal internship. Most of my stuff's been research focused since that's where I'm planning to go career-wise.
Yeah.
And then this past summer, my schedule got thrown off because of the study abroad I was doing. So I didn't have a chance to like really find another summer opportunity. So most of it's been like research throughout the school year.
And where did you study abroad?
I was in Austria first semester. It was at this tiny town called Leoben, and they're very MSE focused school. So I was there taking like 6 credits of technical electives and then working as a part-time research assistant.
Wow.
At this lab connected with the university, which it was awesome. It was really, really cool to go there.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
And then all the credit transferred back, right, to Purdue?
Yeah, I got some of my technical electives out of the way, which was nice.
Woo!
Yeah.
And you said it was a semester long?
Yeah,
or in the summer?
It was a weird. Their semesters are
they
offset
start
there.
in like February or something and end in like June, right?
Yeah, I got there. The semester ran through, I think, mid-February. Well, I got there mid-February. The semester started in March, ran through the end of June. So then I came back after like I had like an awkward month and a half of summer. But
well, that's super cool. And did you how'd you seek out that opportunity? How'd you know what classes you could take abroad, and how'd you fit that into your schedule?
Yeah, it was certainly my study abroad journey was certainly an odd one. It was something I got through working with my advisor and the head of department of MSc. Okay. They had some connections with these researchers who I ended up working with. And basically they were like, hey, do you want to just go here for the semester? So I kind of had to reach out to the program. They have an international study abroad program that's all in English, which was nice. Oh, wow. So working with the people at that university to kind of enroll as a student there. So I was technically enrolled in that university for that semester. And then I was just taking kind of like basically graduate level courses there that I had like spoken with my advisor about how they would transfer as tech electives. And yeah, it was really cool. It was like an all international program, so I was with a lot of other international students that I got to meet and had classes with. Yeah.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. And honestly, study abroad, something I wish I did. Unfortunately, the ship has sailed.
It's hard with engineering, I think. It was something I'd been planning to do since my freshman year, and if I hadn't been thinking about it so beforehand, it would have been hard to move around my classes and figure it out. So
yeah, you definitely have to have some foresight in order to be able to do it without adding time to graduation, but it's totally possible, as you're proof of that you can do it and still graduate in 4 years.
And I guess my next question is, how has student life been as an MSE student, like when it comes to like clubs and organizations and stuff like that?
Good, yeah. I'm not personally as involved with the MSC specific clubs. I know there are a couple. The Purdue University Materials Advantage is part of, it's a national organization of materials engineers, but they'll hold a lot of mostly professional development, but social events as well. And then there's also the American Foundry Society, where I was involved with them my sophomore year a lot more. But they'll hold casting nights, and you can just go like cast whatever you'd like out of metal. They also do a cast in steel competition where you compete with other schools like from around the country to make the best like sword or something. There's a different weapon for each year. Wow. It's pretty cool. And I know there's a blacksmithing club as well. For the people who are into that. Yep. I know it was really cool getting to like talk to people and they were like, yeah, I make swords. Crazy. But I think I was worried coming to Purdue that it was, I mean, everyone's worried coming to college. You're like, oh, it's going to be hard. You're just going to have
your head down in the book all the time and no time
to make friends.
To be a student or be a person outside of being a student.
Yeah, I didn't find it that hard in the end. It was certainly like nerve-wracking still, but I was able to join my two big organizations, PSEF and the choirs. Gave me like a lot of different friends and interacting, having that kind of organized social environment where like you're all there for a common purpose certainly makes it a lot easier. My advice towards like getting involved in student life is always do something that like you're familiar with and you're comfortable with. I'd been doing choir forever. I knew kind of what environment it was going to be like. And then do something that seems a little terrifying. And that was PSEF for me. I was very scared of giving tours at first. Yeah. I was like, what do you mean I have to tell people about what I do here? What do you mean I got to talk for like 45 minutes? But it ended up being really an awesome experience and pushing me out of my comfort zone, which was
and I think that's really important to do wherever you go to college and whatever you're doing. It's important to continue growing as a person. I mean, a lot of people probably wouldn't believe me when I said I was terrified of public speaking at one point, and eventually I had to do it for some presentations, and I figured out how to make it work.
Yeah.
And now basically that's all I do at my job. But yeah, is there anything you do outside of anything Purdue associated student life wise? Or do you go to the basketball games? Do you ever go to downtown Lafayette or any of the open spaces parks around here?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest sports person. I've certainly been around to the different parks with my friends. We do enjoy getting out and going hiking. Yeah. I think the first day the weather was nice. Me and my friend, I'm forgetting what it's called.
Martell Forest?
Happy Hollow? Happy Hollow. We went over to Happy Hollow and just like sat in the grass for like a blissful hour when the sun was out. And then I'm over in Chauncey a lot, and I'll go down to bigger Lafayette for shows and things, both my own and other people's. And I think the biggest thing about student life is like you make friends and then you do a million things with your friends.
Together.
And there's always stuff going on campus and off campus. Yeah. There's so many student clubs. They're always hosting really cool events to attend. So I've never found it like lacking for busyness or stuff to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like students underestimate like the downtown Lafayette because like later today I'm going to this place and it's a candle making place.
That's so cool.
Wait, which one?
I think it's called Rose and Wick.
I went there.
Was it good?
It was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
They got the whole wall of scents, and
awesome.
you get to smell all of them, smell the coffee beans in between, and then you get to choose like I don't know. I think when I made my candle, I put like 10 different scents in there. I just kind of went wild. Smells great. I burn it a lot.
One of my biggest bucket lists before I graduate is to go to the axe throwing place.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know if either have been there.
Yeah. No,
I need to
go.
So bad. I gotta convince my friend with the car to take me.
I gotta go to the Cat Cafe down there at some point.
I've been to the Cat Cafe. I love that Cat Cafe.
Was it worth it?
It's lovely. It is painful when you have to leave without a cat.
I know. I bet.
Every single time I go, I'm like, I know which one I would adopt.
Yeah. Oh, cute kitties. Anyway, I guess how has Purdue satisfied your love for materials engineering and helped prepare you for your future? And I guess what are your future plans?
Yeah, I think above all, it's really instilled me with a desire to keep learning. So I'm pursuing a career in research, hopefully.
Okay.
So I'm planning to do my master's starting in the fall. Hopefully, I will be going to either France or Germany. I'm still doing applications since most of them aren't due till April or March. But the variety of research experiences and the background that this graduate has introduced me to has really set me up to do whatever I want within the field. So a lot of the programs I'm applying to are more materials chemistry specific. I'm specifically pursuing this class of materials. They're called nanoporous materials, but they can be used in anything from like hydrogen storage and like greenhouse gas capture. That's what I'm most interested regarding those. And I've even though I haven't taken a lot of coursework at Purdue that's specific to that, I still have the background to look at and seek out those opportunities in research. So I'm really excited to graduate and keep learning. This summer, I'm going to be working at NREL with those nanoporous materials for methane capture and conversion.
Well, you'll be out right by my house.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like 15 minutes away from NREL.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm looking for housing, so.
Okay. Well, I know you could. Well, we'll talk about it after.
But yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff in the future. I've loved learning about materials here at Purdue, and I'm going to continue to do so wherever life may take me. So
that's awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Tess, for all of your insights. We really have enjoyed having you today on the show.
Yeah.
And I guess our last question will be, what is one piece of advice you'd give to an incoming freshman that's looking at Purdue Engineering?
Can I give two?
Yes.
Yes, I guess we'll let you.
We'll let it slide.
We kind of touched on this, but my advice for everything is always do something that scares you. I was scared of joining PSIF when I first came. I was terrified of my study abroad. But doing those opportunities that are pushing you out of the comfort zone, that's where you're going to improve the most and grow the most and, get to where you want to be, challenge yourself. Even if it's scary, it's supposed to be. And I think my second piece of advice is don't feel like you have to know what you're doing all the time. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do with your whole life when you start at college or even completely when you finish it. Let your goals shift with you and grow with you. And keep an open mind, be adaptable for what's coming, and you can accomplish anything. That's, I suppose.
Well said. Well, that concludes this week's episode. As always, please reach out to the Office of Future Engineers with any further questions.
Yep, and we'll see you guys next week.